Greetings and welcome. I'm Psychic Medium Roberto, and I truly hope you're doing well today. I am guided by Spirit. Trigger warning: the subject matter is of a mature nature and deals with true crime events. Disclaimer: all cases are treated as alleged until proven in a court of law. So I'm going to be looking at the cold case of Skye Budnick, who went missing or regarded missing since April 1, 2008, where she had taken a flight to Japan, and unfortunately she had not informed her family that she was going, and she was only actually reported missing around about the 4th of April. Okay, because her mom and sister believed that on March 31 she was sleeping over with friends, and now Skye was 21 at the time. However, it turns out that Skye had purchased a ticket to Japan and would have landed around April 1, according to information. Okay. So, I do have a discernment warning on this episode. So, if there's information that I receive, but for some reason gets stopped halfway, it's going to be that. And I believe it's quite a complex situation, and leading up to the departure, there's a lot of activity going on here. And I believe one of the premises that Skye had been communicating with someone in Japan via the internet, on some kind of chat system, whatever was going in those days. So we'll have a look at that. There is some evidence of that. However, when I start looking in the sequence in where she would arrive, April 1, let's say till April the 7th, there are some concerning numbers, and we'll go through them. But unfortunately, I don't believe there was a good ending here, and wouldn't have lasted more than April 7, I don't believe. But we'll go deeper to get finer detail. So I want to just speak about Japan first. We will look at preceding the event, but let's look at the sequence, what happens in the perspective of Skye when she arrives in Japan, right? That's the context. We're going to trace her movements, get a sense of overview and energies that she would have experienced. So immediately April 1, we have this 5 in the middle of the day. Now that is a big warning sign, because on one hand, 5 does speak about international, in a positive aspect, speaks about international, going international. 4, if we want to get really fine in detail, 4, local, traveler becomes international. 5, that's on one level, okay? Now, if we look at it from what the negative aspect of 5 can brings around difficulties. Now, anyone can attest, if you've gone to a foreign country, and I've been to a foreign country where the boards weren't in English, and it was very difficult. But we can accept that there would have been some kind of difficulties with the 5. But then I'm looking for more of a softer 5. Even like, for example, over here, 14-5 is a softer 5 outcome than a hard 5. So this would tell me from the moment she arrived in Japan, she experienced difficulties. Okay. Now, planning an overseas trip is not a joke, and a lot has to be considered. And according to Skye's sister, there's a recent video out, says Skye had not traveled at the time, right? She hadn't even traveled out of her state. But yes, she is traveling right across the world to Japan all of a sudden. However, her backstory is she did have a fascination with Japan, and she had intended to go to Japan to study, but I believe that may have fallen through for whatever reason. And I know, having followed some YouTubers' travel vlogs, Japan's not a joke when it comes to paperwork and procedures and all that kind of thing. In fact, if you want to be a resident in Japan, and you can fact check me and just double check me rather, if you want to reside in Japan or rent an apartment like a local, you have to know how to speak Japanese. It's one of their tests. I don't know if it's changed, but 2-3 years ago, you have to speak Japanese, and they test you. They test you. So immediately when she gets into Japan, very difficult country, very foreign in terms of where she was coming from, the States, completely culture shock environment or situation. So if we go 3 days forward and look at the summary, what transpired on that day when she arrived. So immediately we've got double 4 here, right? So we've just seen now with the Karen Reed case, we had the 8+8, and which was a headlock, standoff, conflict of interest. Now in the case here with Skye, 4, verse 4, we're talking paperwork. So was there issues with her paperwork when she arrived? Did she have all the necessary paperwork that she needed? So there may even, so we're just tracing steps, right? So there may even be, and I'm saying this as importance because unfortunately, I'm going to say it up front, I believe there's also some meddling going on around here in the background by officials. So this is why I'm saying this double 4 year, there may be paperwork, administration, evidence of what transpired, perhaps either at the airport or when she gets to her apartment. There's a paperwork issue. When she arrives, there's paperwork issues. And of course, 8 brings around balance or imbalance. So the outcome of April 1 is we have a 15-6. This is an older male waiting to receive her, in my opinion. Now, if we go in the real and we go back to April 4, and take it as the real day and not necessary reflection of April 1, there's a conflict of interest going on here as well, and there's this dominant male energy issue. And you will note that Skye is a life path 4, so here she is. Even over here, April 4, there's a conflict of interest here. Either, of course, she realizes that something has gone awry, or not exactly as intended type thing, right? Bit of a surprise. Which results in the 8, which can be, unfortunately, very violent. And I do get the impression, and I've been meditating on this card for, let's say, hour to 2 hours. The adult male has a blowout, and it's brought around by predominantly male issues. In other words, he's got issues as a male. Now, we must also appreciate, and I don't mean to shame, and I don't mean to generalize. Every country has their issues, but it's well known that Japanese men treat women quite badly. Not all, let's be fair, not all, but there's certainly the reputation. Now, when an American woman arrives in Japan, there can be issues, right? Bumping of heads on this day, April 4. April 4 for me is very problematic, unfortunately. Uh, 89 is not a good number, unfortunately. So, of course, it does bring around the idea of murder, 89. So, obviously, I'm looking for signs of life, right? So, if we get to like a difficult impasse like April 4 is, would she have got through? And of course, we are in April, and she is a 4 life path. Which I must just say, and this is no fault on anyone, right? But I'm saying someone with 13-4 and is a 4 life path. I just want to say someone with a 13-4 life path, for her to trust someone goes like a 13-4s don't trust easily. They may be friendly and they come across as friendly, soft, but let me tell you the internal mechanisms of a 13-4. So there must have definitely been some kind of connection leading up to you. 13-4s don't just, I will say, and this is mainly for mom and sister, a 13-4 are born with a special annoying gift. And I say it with tongue in cheek, right? If they make a decision, whether it's I'm leaving this place, or I'm leaving this person, or I'm changing my mind, or I'm changing whatever, they will do it in an instant without even notice. I'm sure you can attest to that, and I don't mean to be sarcastic about it, but that's who a 13-4 is. So when I get to the build-up of before she goes to Japan, there's things going on here for her that's either too much to handle, or fuck this, I'm doing what I want to do with my life. I wanted to go to Japan anyway, and I'm leaving this all behind me. The 13-4 gives her that ability. And when they do it, it stings. It's almost like that last bit of sting in the scorpion tail. The 24-6 now, so yeah, because the minute I started speaking about trust around 13-4, I'm asking the question, so why did she, so here's the answer here. Why was she, I'm going to just say it, but let's not get too hectic, gullible, comes around with the 7s. 7s as a minor, small flaw, and I've got a 7. I've been working on it for years. 7s are very trusting people. because sevens have this innate ability to see the good, the better person in you all the time. Sevens. So, and sevens don't necessarily see the actual, but they're seeing the potential. Does that make sense? So that's where that would come from, the sevens, right? Not a bad thing. It's part of the makeup of a seven. The 24/6 makes her friendly, believe it or not, because her sister said there were issues because of her uniqueness in the culture of Japan. For whatever reason, what we would call in South Africa planks viewed it as weird. All right, so Planck has about an IQ of about 2.5, right? Anyway, believe it or not, family, 24/6 is about family, is about friends. Now, this is the thing about, and I'm just saying in general, not necessarily in Skye's case, that you can put a child in any environment, and that child will grow as a result of that environment, right? But they will still have their innate who they are. So Skye may be as friendly as anything, but because she's in the wrong environment, that environment doesn't suit her natural character. Does that make sense? And she has the power number 22/4. She's a builder. And the 2 is the family number as well, but also is the emotional number. That's where the emotional center sits in the February. And I would just say the 4s is where you'll find the difficulties that she may have encountered in terms of her well-being, mental health. But also note, on the issue of depression, right? The 13/4 also gives her the ability to deal with it. But it will be the 6 that will, it's like, oh, I like that feeling, so I'm always going to do it. It's like addiction or whatever. The 6 will bring that in. So if she goes down that path, the 6 will push her there. But the 7 and the 4, ironically, will bring her back. So she had that ability. Don't underestimate the strength of a 13/4. Even though they go through difficult times, they will still have that 4. And of course, with time and age and experience, it only gets better, right? So, but it's innate for a 4. And 4s, by the way, while we're on the subject of 4s can be very guarded. So the fact that you didn't know about what was going on and that she had planned this whole thing is normal for her, and it was quite easy for her, as much as it did, I believe she may have regretted in some part. But a 4 can keep that information from anyone for years and years to come. That's who a 4 is. So let's go back into Japan here. So let's see, April the 2nd, the new day, new morning, new country. For Skye. I don't believe there would have been issues here. Let me just see here. There is some, the minute she lands in Japan, And we have this 5 here. There's issues around her. It's almost like the sense and feeling that I got, she was conned, obviously. Conned into the situation. So she would have believed, because she is the child, 13-4, the child. 13-4 is the child, inner child. She would have believed, and the 7s, oh, this is so amazing, and 6, all the romanticism, and the 4s, let me plan this quickly. So April the 2nd, for me, would be regarded as a warm day. Like, these are not too bad numbers. I think April the 3rd would have been the day of realization, unfortunately, that something was amiss. So let's just zoom in here, because this 3, I believe, brings around some control issues. Because we'll note the 4 will ping directly on Skye. But the 3, you know the term, the honeymoon period is over? 3 brings around control issues. 7 can bring around restrictions, freedom, lack of freedom. 7 in the positive talks about freedom. So we got the presence of a 3, which I feel nervous about. We have the presence all along 10-1s. This also bothers me. I'm going to just show you an example. If you have a look here, April 6, triple 10-1s. There's lots of 10-1 issues around here as well, and we'll go into that. 17-8 in a negative context, because obviously we're dealing with a negative context here. Is 95% of the time present at a murder scene, unfortunately. That is the death of a body. Human 8, biology 7 can be an unjust death. Innocence. We have the presence of a 16-7. All these numbers that contribute to the story of serial nature. Pinging. Restraints. Restriction. And here we see the issue again. The 4 plus the 4. I did receive an image for confirmation. I received an image and a sound. Image is male taking out a suitcase, and the audio that I heard was of a suitcase going down some steps, like small steps. That is heavy. After the fact. Now, and I've just found it. So unfortunately, yeah, she is murdered, unfortunately. We have this massive conflict here with an 8, very violent. Sorry to say. Now, the image continued because I wanted to know where did he take her, and are shown like a lake environment, and evidence of lake is here. 20 with an outcome 2. Pinging. 20 with an outcome 2. I believe she was put in water. And look at these anomalies of 10s here. This is, so I did get a read on the perpetrator, and this will be the segue, I guess, because 10-1, and I believe appropriate to this context of a single male. Let me retract single male. I believe this person may have even been married at the time. What am I doing there? So we got I'm saying we got an older male. Let me stay there. Older male. That I believe in his normal life is married situation. But we'll get in there. So the image I got is he puts the bag in the water. And here's evidence of water. But what I'm getting to with these 10s is at the time, because here's the big conflict here, he went ballistic. Whatever, he lost his cool, okay? And with this presence of all these 10-1s, is like mass, it's like explosions, okay? It's like an individual exploding. We're taking this on the individual level. Let's say on a spousal murder context, that whoever this person is, now as sickening as the next comment is about to sound, when all was said and done after the murder, this guy cried about it. That was an image and impression that I got. And certainly not a ploy to get sympathy on the guy, but I honestly believe this guy had a emotional breakdown, 22, after the fact. Which resulted in, this is the crazy part of this meditation that I've just been on. That of course, Skye has lost her life here, unfortunately. I don't believe she would have got past April 4, unfortunately. But this guy has a breakdown. This is going to help in the future, what I'm saying. That this guy has this meltdown. Now, this 4-7, and this all ties in, because this is the next day now, right? 4-7, let's zoom in. The next day after his meltdown, right? And he's deposited the body and all of this, right? He even possibly, because this 4-7-11-2 has been bothering me completely. If it was any other context other than a young girl going overseas and meeting someone and meets foul play, okay, we'll accept that as the narrative. But if it was anything else, this 4-7-11-2 would normally sound alarm bells, in that there could be law enforcement or officialdoms involved. But I believe in this case, the perpetrator may have even considered handing himself in here. I know it might sound far-fetched, but you know what? We've seen many times criminals, they're all hardcore when they get in, or when they want to commit a crime. However, when that crime is committed, it's a different story. It's a different story, and I believe this may have impacted him. And of course, the fear for the USA didn't make matters easier for him as well, I believe. because we've got an 11-2 in the middle here. That's the US number. It happens to be the Japanese number as well, but it's also a US number. Now, the reason why, you see this 22-4 here. So now he's got to come up with, like, his whole mindset has to change. He makes a decision. His mindset's going to change in the sake of his children or his family. However, I do believe, because of his emotional stature, and I did get an image as well of the perpetrator going back to the location, and I still believe he will go to that location in the future. And I believe, as sickening as it sounds, he completely, the outcome just completely blew his mind. Now, I'm not seeking sympathy for any perpetrator. Time is time, and he's going to serve it. But I do believe at some point in his life, and that's the image and confirmation again, at some point in his life, he's going to come forward about this crime. That's the impression I'm getting. But wow, man. So let's just, if April the 4th is the day, which I believe it is, right? Because it serves also the reflection of the arrival, but I believe it may be the day. The following day, we see this mass of 10 ones. This guy, these 10 ones are all over the place here. We've got a raw 10 ones here. I wonder if this guy... So I believe these 10 ones are related to the perpetrator. And he may have even been a business or company owner at the time. He would have been significant. But he was leading a double life, 16-7, the chameleon. And he happened to find someone. So this person I would say is relatively connected then. Decent businessman, lots of 10 ones around. That's big money. That's not small money here. I'm just checking for evidence of trafficking. I don't believe this was trafficking at all. This was more of a personal nature. Yeah. And it almost feels like, and I know this is terrible, that the perpetrator was fulfilling a fantasy. So, and I still believe the suitcase is in the water, in the dam. Or the lake, beg your pardon, lake. The lake that he would visit. Let's just see here. So the day after he is scatterbrain in my opinion, yeah. April 5, scatterbrain. The scatterbrain. So when we get to April 6, I believe he would have moved her on April 6. So April 5 would have been his planning day. I believe he would have moved her on April 6. So there's a day to investigate. See, April 8, this is where I believe he rejoins his family. Yeah. I'm going to, for the time being, unless we hear additional information, although I've mentioned 2 bits of information around the 4, 7, 11, 2 here, I'm still going to put an asterisk here. That's still bugging me. That's a problem. It's a problem. I wonder what occupation this guy was actually. There's a big clue here. And under normal circumstances, and I know I keep coming back here. This is like someone in authority here. Not good. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's what I have for now. I do hope. I do get the sense he wants to come forward. He almost did, I believe. But I do, at some point, he is going to let people know. All right, ladies and gentlemen, prayers and thoughts to the family. Please share your comments and thoughts. I do love engaging with your comments. Keep it clean in the comments, ladies and gentlemen. If it's getting nasty, you're going to get booted. All right. Please enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe, stay alert. See you in the next one. Bye for now.